number 10, plan for creativity and capture these kinds of outcomes. Okay, so that's the rule. The problem is, thinking back to the number of meetings I've been to in the last year, which is probably excessive for anyone, and I can count on one hand the number of meetings where action items were both recorded and then distributed after the meeting. Now, this is kind of just the suggestion for action items is kind of a mundane suggestion. We hear this a lot of times, that people need to be recording action items and so on and so forth. But here's how the problem kind of manifests itself. I was actually working with another company to do some consulting work with them on improving their meetings, which is what I do, right? And so we were talking about their meetings. They said that one of the challenges they have is that it doesn't seem like anything happens after their meetings. That they have these meetings, that they make decisions, and then nothing seems to change. And we have another meeting and it's the same thing over again. And I asked them two questions. I said, do you have someone who records action items or the to-dos, or however you want to call it, but do you have someone recording what should be done as a result of this meeting? And second, is someone assigned to follow up with specific individuals for each of the to-dos or action items that have been recorded? Bet you can guess what the answer was. They had neither of those things, right? They didn't have action items, to-dos, etc. were not being recorded. And there was nobody from any of the meetings who'd been assigned to follow up on any of those things. And so what they were in is what we often experience in our meetings. I've experienced these, I'm sure you have as well, where we go to meetings and we're spinning around talking about the same things over and over and over again. Until at some point somebody decides to do something, but it often is 3 or 4 meetings in when it could have been after the first meeting. And so what does the science say about this? That, well, first off, recording and following up on action items is an often ignored but known best practice. And it's one of those things where you could probably pull any trade publication on meetings off the shelf, and they're going to recommend a couple of things. One, they're probably going to say you need to have an agenda, which we kind of beat that to death already in our class here with having a purpose, right? And then they're also going to say taking minutes or recording notes or having action items. They're going to say something about having that. And yet, these are two of the things that are probably maybe even the most common things that are not happening with regularity in business. And so what we did in this study was we actually had the comparison groups. We had people who we didn't do anything with, and of course we're not recording their action items. And then we had a group where we said, just at the end of your meeting, write down the 3 or 4 or 5 things that were decided and what needs to be done next, and assign someone to follow up on them. And that's all we did. And we saw a dramatic increase in performance of the teams that were recording their action items compared to the teams that were not. And it wasn't that the teams that were not were lazy or ineffective or cherry-picked to be the worst people in the organization. It was simply a matter of they were recording and following up, and they were not. And the other thing that science has shown us is that after the meeting tasks, so things that happen after the meeting, are no less important than the before meeting tasks and the during meeting tasks. Okay, because if you do the before and the during, but you do nothing afterwards, you're going to be doing the before and during for the same meeting again, because you didn't change anything. Nothing got done as the meeting ended. So it's like that little picture down the corner that shows. It's a continuous process where you do the things that you need to before, you do the things you need to during, you do the things you need to after, and then you go back and do the before. But hopefully, the before is now moving the team forward to the next thing.